1. You're listening to the Jules and Coffee Hour, sharing the stories of Blizzard gamers around the world. Pull up a chair. We're glad you're here. Welcome to episode 11 of the Jules and Coffee Hour. I'm Jules.
And I'm Coffee, and I'm a nerd. And I don't care what you say about it.
Well, okay, I'm fine with this. Because if I wasn't, then we would just have to cancel the show. And I don't want to do that. I like the show way too much.
You'll allow it.
I like you way too much. I will allow it. I will allow us to be nerds because I'm a nerd too. I just want to admit that out there too. We are back again. It's right after rank win on, was today Monday?
Monday
the 28th.
Yeah. Doing Monday
January.
things.
Oh my gosh. This is the last Monday in January, dude.
What? You mean next Monday is going to be February?
What?
This is nuts. What?
I know. What is happening?
The new year just happened. We're already a month into it. We're 1/12 done this year.
What? I know. I was just thinking about this because, we just spent some time talking about what we plan to do for 2019 and all those wonderful things that we planned on working on. And, I feel like I've been pushing myself along those lines, but it's very strange to think about the fact that we're almost through that first month already. Where did it go?
Yeah. I mean, it's like
I'm an icicle, basically, because it's frickin' cold.
It's right.
It's so cold. It's gonna get disgustingly cold
I've
here.
been sweating today.
So
it's kind of warm.
Yeah, I'm kind of wishing that I had a little bit of time by the fire, like you do.
Is that why it's
right
warm?
there?
Jesus.
I really enjoyed last week's episode with you. I felt like that was just something very, very.
It was a really fun one.
It was a very fun one. It was a very interesting. Like we always talk about this on the show about how we go in places we don't expect to go when we start it because we don't plan it out ahead of time. We just kind of let the conversation flow.
Right.
I'm looking forward to doing that this time around too.
Me too.
This one.
I think that's part of the journey. It's part of the adventure, and part of why it's so exciting to do this with you is that we just don't really know where we're going with this. We're just kind of laying out some stories and some feelings, and when the time's up, and it's just, I don't know, it's pretty crazy.
Best part of my week though, and we're very grateful to all of you who let us know that you're listening to the show, that you enjoy it as well. Download it, listen to it on YouTube, I should say. Listen to it live while we record it on the Heroes Hearth, twitch.tv/HeroesHearth. And we actually, before we get into our topic of the week, we got a letter about episode 8 from Crushinator, who is a listener of the show. And he wanted to give us some feedback about the HGC discussion that we had a couple weeks ago. This one's pretty powerful. Coffee, do you want to read this one? I kind of put you on the spot. Is it right there in front of you? Because
I got it right here.
I just keep talking. Go ahead and read this one.
I'll read it. Let's do it. Hello, Jules and Coffee. It actually says Coffee and Jules, but I feel like her name should technically come first, right?
Thank you. I don't know why, but okay.
It just should. Just don't. It does. Okay.
Okay. I'm not going to.
Hello, Jules and Coffee. Just got to listen to episode 8 and wanted to share my experience. During the long wait up to the HGC announcement, I had no doubt that Blizzard was going to keep standing beside this esport. I understood that viewership wasn't tremendous. Maybe downsizing was possible, but there was so much I felt like they had left to try and so much left to iterate on that they couldn't possibly cut the cord now. I had decided that Ranked HOTS was going to be my stream focus for 2019. I had overlays built, stats spreadsheets created, dynamic graphics and chat commands all ready and running. That announcement dropped on a stream night, pretty much 10 minutes before I went live. I read the words, flipped on the stream, and put on my brave face for the night. I spoke about how the game could recover, how we could shake off the haters and soldier on, but by the end of the night, my will to try hard at this game was completely gone. My heart was broken. I've played HOTS since the announcement, but it's not the same. I have fun playing and with friends, but that drive to improve and study the game isn't there now. that puts HOTS on the same shelf as other casual games I dabble in from time to time, instead of the #1 passion position it was in previously. The stream atmosphere I've been trying to create about continuous improvement and dedicated effort while maintaining a positive attitude, and it feels really bad that HOTS can't be my framework for that effort anymore. Maybe I'm still in the clutches of grieving, and I can isolate the loss of HGC from my willingness to invest time and effort into being a better HOTS player. Right now, I can still have fun playing, making friends and involving myself in HOTS communities. If that's how things end up, though, a bit tragic, maybe that's okay. Much love from the Crushinator.
I don't think you're alone in still grieving. I really don't. I'm readily going to admit that I feel like I'm still grieving this too.
And
Because
first of all,
I like,
thank you for that letter, Crushinator. I mean,
yeah,
it's just very,
abs-
very well spoken, and I appreciate your bravery in sharing that with us, man. It's really, really cool.
it's hard because I feel like a lot of us are kind of coming to terms, especially because this would be right now the time of year that HGC would have been starting back up again.
Mm-hmm.
Right now. So if you are out there, I know we've already covered this. I know we've talked about this on episode 8, but if you're still out there and still feeling like, man, this is still a sore spot. It's still difficult. Just know that you're not alone. Just know that you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Because it smarts a lot for me too. And it's frustrating that it's still here, But
Yeah.
not to start the show on a downer, but I wanted to share that letter. Thank you for writing to us, and for being a part of this community. We appreciate you. We
Yeah,
do.
and I also just appreciate that. I know the work that goes into setting up your stream, producing high quality, high production value content, and I know the kind of work and homework you did to get to a point where you're ready to stream Here's the Storm, and I just know that that work is still appreciated. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just because of the announcement that doesn't go out the window. It's still valued. I mean, I just want you to know that, because it's a lot of work. It is. It's hard work that goes into that, and good on you, man,
Yeah.
for doing that. And it sounds like the efforts you're doing in the environment you're trying to create in your stream, like just the positivity and the continuous improvement and effort to maintaining a certain attitude. That's just sounds like you're creating a really awesome environment over there. So good on you, Crushinator.
Yes, and don't give up. If it's
Don't
something
give
you
up.
really want to keep doing it for
Yes.
sure. Okay, so now we move on to our next topic for this week, the new one, the brand new topic of this week. We're talking about gatekeeping and nerd culture, Coffee. We're talking about those people, that come to you and say, dude, you are not a nerd. I'm revoking your nerd card because you are not part of this kingdom.
You know
The
what they say
things
to me?
that people
They say you don't even watch anime. You're not a nerd. That's what they say, Jules. They say it to my face too.
And it hurts.
It hurts.
Stings.
It
It
stings.
stings. So we're going to talk about this. This is our topic of the week. So I think I'm just going to fire it off with the topic of the week sounder, because this is it. We're ready. We're going to do it. So you ready? Like duck and cover. It's coming.
All right.
All right. It's time for the topic of the week. So this topic of the week was inspired by something that happened to me. Like we always do, we talk about stories of the things that happen to us in our lives, and inspires us as Blizzard gamers, as part of the HeroesHearth network, part of the HeroesHearth community. So I had something happen to me last week where I went to a job interview. It was an informal interview because it was a second one, and it was an opportunity for me to meet the team of people.
Jules, I'm gonna have
There
to
were
stop
6
you right
people.
there. Let me stop you
Stop
right
me.
there, because Mr. Draconis is saying you're not nerdy enough to even talk about this.
I'm going to take away your nerd card, Mr.
Get ripped.
Rip.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You in my house now.
talk about the experience.
Yes, okay. So we're sitting around this table, it's an informal setting to get to know these people. They want to get to know me. It has already been established in my first conversation with them that I was a gamer. I did tell them that. They were pretty excited about that. We had great conversations about it. Awesome. Yay. So then I saw your green screen move. Is that a cat?
It was, right?
Yeah, it was a Petrelli cat.
It was a Petrelli cat. Oh no. Oh no. He's about to ruin everything.
Oh my goodness. Well, this podcast is already, yeah, we could take care of it. That's fine. We could take care of the little man. Oh, look at it's a kitty. Look at this little man. Okay, we're being totally derailed by a cat, and that's okay because man, he's so freaking cute. Look at that. All right, so I'm going to continue with my story while we
bad.
He's such a naughty little booger. Okay. So while we be distracted by cat, you won't be looking at me, but you'll be hearing my voice. Conversation's great. We're having a good chat. One of them asks me about what games I play. I talk about Heroes of the Storm, I talk about Overwatch, and I talk about Pokemon Go, and they lit up like a Christmas tree. One of them plays Pokemon Go too. And then she turns to me and she goes, "Do you like Lord of the Rings?" And my answer to that question is, I've actually never seen it, which is very true. There's reasons for that, but I actually have never seen Lord of the Rings. And her response to me, which is what inspired this topic of the week, was, "Oh, you're not a real nerd then."
Ooh. How did she say it? Can you just be her for a moment and hit me with the venom? Hit me with the venom and the daggers that she spit at your face.
So she's sitting in the chair.
Yeah.
She kind of just swats her hand in the air and towards me after that and just says, "Oh, you're not a real nerd then."
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn. That is savage.
Now, there's a reason for that. And honestly, I had this conversation with Workhorse from HeroesHearth and Breakfast Princess from HeroesHearth and Heroes of Fitness, our lovely friends, Heroes of Fitness. We were having dinner together and they were like, "We have to do this. We have to get together and have," because we all live here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul.
And Heroes of Fitness is a huge fan of Lord of the Rings.
They are massive fans. And they were like, "Oh my gosh, we need to remedy this and we need to sit down." And so we're planning on actually doing a marathon day, the 5 of us, to watch that. But the reason why this inspired this conversation is that was a true feels bad man moment. That was a true and it's not the first time that's ever happened to me. It's never going to be the last time that it's happened to me. But the whole description of why we do that and what we do is it was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect discussion for this show.
Yeah. Because
I had to actually justify the fact that I was not like, there should be no reason why I if I didn't want to see it or if I hadn't seen it. Like, I haven't even told you the reasons why, and I'm not going to at this moment because there isn't need to. Right? There isn't need for me to explain myself why I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Coffee, you talked about this already, that you just, anime. People get on you about anime.
It's yeah, people get on me about anime. That's been something that's been going on for a while. Probably 15 or 20 years. People just really get on me about anime. I'm not sure why I haven't tried too many of them, right? But the ones I've tried to watch, I just find that I miss the human emotion, or I miss the facial expressions, the little intricate kind of details that a face or a human can convey on a camera, rather than just kind of a stock blank expression. I mean, I know I love the art in anime, like it's great, it's fantastic, but in terms of telling a story, I can't get into it. I can't, at least not yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I know that certain artists have a great way of really using the facial expressions of their characters to tell the story, but it's still something about it to me is there's a wall, and I can't get past that to appreciate it like I would a performance, like a human's performance.
Right. And just for the record, I am not a fan of anime either.
Okay.
I've just never, it's never connected to me. I've never been interested in it. People have also given me a hard time about not liking anime. Um, and and there's a lot of things like, you know, Lord of the Rings is a great one for me. But you know, I have things that I've never played in my, you know, my childhood. I never played a Zelda game. I never played Final Fantasy. Um, I never played Kingdom Hearts, which is a big thing right now, and everybody's really super stoked about. Um,
Yeah.
and the weird part about it is like I think we've gotten better over time of being a little bit more aware, but I know for my own like my own situation, I've done this to people.
Yeah.
I have ridiculed people
Same.
for not enjoying or being interested in the things that I think are like the most important.
Same here.
And I mean, like, I feel bad about it. I'm assuming you do too.
I feel terrible
Like I
about it. I do.
yeah. So tell me when you may have realized that this was not such a great thing for you to do.
When I met my wife, she hadn't seen Star Wars. So I you know, my wife is amazing. I mean, she's so thoughtful and open-minded and creative, and it just blew my mind that she had never seen Star Wars,
Right.
because it's just such a huge part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my initial gut reaction was to kind of just lash out and say, "How could you not see Star Wars? Like, who raised you, right?" But what happened, I think, is that it kind of it pushed her away from it even further a little bit,
Yeah.
especially, and that wasn't a good thing, especially at a time when she was making efforts to get more into the things that I was passionate about. I remember at the time we were playing, one of the first games we were playing together was Borderlands 2, and
Mm-hmm.
she was playing that with me on a console and getting into the game and being excited about the game. And that was, you know, she was showing she was taking steps to share an interest with me. You know, she was
Yeah.
going out of her norm to share something with me, and then for me to kind of lash out about Star Wars was just not the right thing to do. It didn't make her feel good, and it didn't make me feel good either. So
Yeah. Yeah, and it hits on something that I think is very prevalent and has happened to me many, many times is that there's this feeling when someone realizes that there's a nerd thing, culture, whatever that you haven't been involved in, they make it their own personal mission
oh yeah.
to like show you that you have to experience this. I was in a long relationship with someone who I'm no longer in a relationship with who this is all he did.
Mm.
And it made me insane because I would say, "Hey, I'm not really into that." And he would say to me, "Well, you just don't know what you're talking about. You just have to give it a try. You need to blah, 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 blah." And then the worst part about it is that when I did give it a try, it was the see, I told you that you would like it. You know, that whole this is why I'm not in a relationship with this person anymore. One of the many reasons. But this is something that tends to happen is that
Mm.
people feel like it's their personal mission to get you to be converted into blah whatever it is that you have to
Just consider that. For
like.
stop and consider a person that knows everything about everything and knows all things that are good and is disappointed in you for not knowing those same things are good, but also rejects new things,
Yeah.
right? From
Yeah.
being shared with him. So just
Yeah.
imagine that
And
person.
I'm just like you know, it got to the point where I was actually resistant and this is what you were talking about with your wife too. Like she was kind of maybe backed away from
Yeah.
Star Wars bit
Mm-hmm.
because it felt like there was a bit of shaming going on even though you weren't intending to do it.
Yeah.
I would back away intentionally from the stuff that he would present to me because I just didn't want to give him the satisfaction of saying I told you so. It just felt bad.
Yeah.
And that is something. So what happened with Workhorse and Nicole and Tim from Heroes of Fitness, they were like, we should do this together. This will be an experience that we can, we can share this with you and we'll do it together. And this is what we plan to do. And I'm loving the fact that that's how they approached it instead of making me feel really shitty about not experiencing it, because a lot of people have done that, like the person who I had this
Yeah.
interview with. And so that part is great, but we do this. I did this to a friend of mine who is he had never seen a Star Wars movie. My friend Jay had never seen a Star Wars movie and was going to go see The Force Awakens for the first time. And so we were talking on Discord and he's like, "What do I need to know?" And I'm like, "Oh dear." I don't even know how to get you started on this, but he wound up going to the movie and then he was like, "Yeah, okay, I understood it and I got it for the most part." But he didn't, of course, get some of the insider
Yeah, there's some references he might not get, right? But it's
yeah.
kind of the
Yeah.
beginning of a new chapter anyway, in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
So.
like he wouldn't feel the significance of seeing Leia come on the screen the first time, or seeing Han and Chewie together, and those were the things that we would have, as fans, just kind of blown away, like just completely blown away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the silly part about it is that I know that I had that reaction where I was like, "What? How could you have not seen a single Star Wars movie? How is this possible? What rock did you live under? Blah, blah, blah." And
Right.
and then I felt really bad because he's like, "Well, it just never really entered my orbit." And
Which
like
is a fair
after that,
thing to say. I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just because we are so ingrained in it ourselves that it becomes very implausible that we could imagine that someone could actually not have
Yeah.
been aware of it or known that the movie was coming out, or yeah. And but I've really started to take notice of this, and something I've really changed in my own behavior. But man, it smacks you in the face when someone does it to you.
It does. Like that. Like you're not a true nerd if you don't like Lord of the Rings. Venom.
Okay, all right. Well, then thank you for your time and making me feel really shitty about it. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Sit down and watch it right now in front of you? Like I don't,
No.
because think about it from a perspective of like how you say it and what you say. And that just makes me very concerned that people do this a lot or
Yeah.
say you're not a real fan, or you're not, you don't know enough about Star Wars to consider yourself a real fan. Like,
Right.
what is the...
Then that's so yeah, there's different levels to it as well. Like you're saying, so those are two extreme sides of the spectrum. Someone who's really into
Yeah.
Star Wars, someone who's has never seen Star Wars. And then there's a middle ground, and this is where it gets even more kind of ridiculous to me because I love Star Wars, okay? I've even read some of the extended universe books, right? But my uncle has probably read every single Star Wars fan fiction novel that's ever been made. And for him to talk to me and say, "Oh, well, Chris, you're just not that into Star Wars," just blows my mind
Yeah.
because I'm obsessed with Star Wars. But this guy has spent millions of hours reading fan fiction books that aren't even canon now. And it's just like for him to say you're just not nerd enough. Is this
Yeah.
like why can't we just share this passion and be excited for each other that we like the same stuff? It's like it's even that kind of thing is just crazy to me.
And I think it's harmful. Honestly, I do think it's very harmful. It branches to further things about the stuff that we see nowadays of just justifying, oh, well, a female can't be a fan of this because she's not, interested in that kind of thing. I mean, it gets pretty gnarly when you dig down into some of the nastier stuff of of this genre. But when we think about the contact that we have with people in our day to day and in our community too, I find that people are getting more and more just kind of confrontational about all of this, like that they're trying to justify their knowledge and interest in everything, and to also just try to say I know my shit, like I know
Yeah.
my shit about blood,
It's almost
what
a
it is that
brag.
we're talking about.
It's not.
Yeah.
It becomes less about um, community and more about one person being awesome. And you're just not as awesome as that one guy. So you're
Yeah.
not. You're not a nerd.
Yeah, it just frustrates the heck out of me, and I don't want to see this continue. I want to see people be a little bit more inclusive, because here's the thing. Like, as a nerd my entire life, I was bullied for the things that I liked. I was bullied for liking video games and for liking She-Ra and all those things. I was bullied for that stuff because people were like, "Oh, you like Star Wars." Bleh, you know?
Right.
And I always thought that it would be, there would come a time when this stuff would just come around and people would be more interested in it, that it would be cooler, which it is. It's like now we've got Marvel Entertainment and tons of movies, and
Never
it's
thought growing
mainstream.
up that Marvel superheroes, like I used to read these comics. I never thought that that would be a thing that like is pop culture. Like, it's
Yes.
just hard to
Black
consider.
Panther is nominated for a freaking Oscar.
No,
like,
it won it.
what?
It won a SAG award last night.
And
But,
I didn't even watch the SAG Awards. Okay, so
yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're winning awards. It's mainstream now, to the point. And we a lot of us will just say, "Oh, I never thought I saw the day." I always thought we'd see the day. I always thought it would be this way. But what I didn't ever expect, and what I'm really sad about, and I'm still sad about it, is that as people who have most likely been bullied about the things that we've loved and enjoyed in the past, that why we can't be more understanding about it in our own culture. The people that are in like our tribe, that we're gatekeeping them, and
I
it's
love that.
just
That's such a good way to put that.
it's,
People that are in
uh,
our own tribe, it's like
yeah,
we're not allowing them to come in. We're not embracing them, and we're discriminating, essentially.
yeah,
It's really
yeah.
so silly, so pointless.
I mean, I don't even, I can't even tell you how many times that's happened to me in my time frame in my career, and it's just like I just don't, you don't want to see yourself in a position where you're kind of like telling people like, "Hey, shut up." But at the same time, I'm sitting here going, can we be kinder to each other about the things that we love, and to also basically serve more kindness in understanding what people enjoy. And if they
Mm.
don't like it, if you don't like, so for me to say
That's
I don't like
okay.
anime,
That's
yes,
okay. That's the thing. It's just
yes,
you don't have to spend the entire rest of your life convincing that person that anime is the best thing in the world. Just accept that that's one area that you guys aren't going to connect on. That doesn't
yeah,
mean anything.
yeah, yeah. It's so many stories of just trying,
The other thing for
even
me is
in, well,
Dungeons and Dragons.
oh yes, okay, so bring that one up, because I've never played D&D either.
So I've only played it once, but it took hours just to set up my character and actually get to the role playing and like storytelling part. I gotta fix this cat. He's just being too bad.
Yep,
He's attacking
he's just
Daisy.
being no problem. Because Dungeons and Dragons was one of those things for me as well, where I've also been kind of given those moments where people are just like, yeah, D&D, this is not, it's not something that I never ever had opportunity to be involved in, yes, but also it was like I didn't understand it. Look at Charlie, he's so cute. Is he going away? He's probably going away. Poor Coffee. We're trying to deal with this little monster cat on this podcast who's just become
He
part
is
of
just he makes everything in life harder, but I love him so much.
He's so damn cute.
He's just a pain. Like, you're really trying to get work done, and this cat just, I don't know. He'll either start eating something out of the sink, or he'll attack my other cat, or he'll destroy something, or he'll start like scratching my foot or attacking me. He's just, he just wakes up in the morning.
He's in asshole phase.
He's in an asshole phase. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great way to describe it. Great way to describe
He's
it.
in an asshole. Okay, going back to D&D.
D&D. It takes several hours before you even get to start playing the game. All right, I'm not a fan of board games to begin with, so sitting around a table looking at like sheets and a board is already an uncomfortable space for me. 3 hours in and we haven't even started the game is where you start to lose me. I just start to kind of zone out, and because I'm that way towards D&D, there's even people in my Twitch community that are kind of like, oh, he doesn't like D&D? That kind of sucks. You know, bummer. Like, it sucks. I respect what D&D is. I love that it's all about storytelling and role-playing and even, you know, performing and acting. It's fantasy, and I love that too. It's just, there's something about it that doesn't consume me. I mean, I think that if I gave it another chance and my character was already made, I think that I could have fun playing it.
Yeah.
But there's so much setup time.
Yeah.
So much setup time.
You have to come into a situation where the time is right and you're feeling like you're willing to try it. And I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that listen to say, "Oh man, I could convince you. I could teach you. I could make you see the light, Coffee. I could make you understand how I feel about this wonderful game known as Dungeons and Dragons, and that you are missing out." Now, I've never played a game of D&D in my life, so I'm not the one who is advocating this. I'm just being
we might get
the
some
role
feedback.
play.
We might get a letter or two about this.
And so that thing that people are going to look at and say, hey, you know, I feel like I could convince you. Quell that impulse a little bit. I'm serious, and hold it back, because it's not your job. It is not your job to teach someone to like something. If someone shows interest in that thing that you like, that's awesome. That's completely 100% awesome. And, you know, so like recently I've been putting pictures up on Twitter of my diamond painting, which I've been doing, which is basically like paint by numbers meets cross stitch with these little plastic squares. It's kind of, you know, for anybody who is not into this, it's like, what the hell is this thing? And I've had people ask me about it, which is awesome. Like, they've asked me about it. They've said, hey, I want to know more about it. I'm more than happy to tell you anything you want to know. But I am not going to do an infomercial about why you need to start diamond painting while I'm on my stream or I'm on
Jules
my Twitter
RPG,
or whatever.
And I'm here to tell you that diamond painting is the way to go. And if you're not doing it, you're a moron. That's not what it's about.
Why didn't I try this?
You should have just done that. I mean, that seems to be the way to go.
So, I mean, and it would be the same thing as if I were sharing it and being excited about it, and someone comes into my stream or they come into my Twitter and say, that looks like shit and I hate it. It's like, great. Thank you so much for walking into my living room and taking a dump in the middle of it and then leaving.
Right.
Because basically what you did is you left your pile of shit in my living room and you left me to deal with it.
You slowly, you know, unbuttoned your pants. You took your belt off. You pulled them down to you know, ankle height, and you just defecated right in the living room. Right? Just a massive, big old. All right, next topic.
I know. Like, where are we going with this?
That's what he did. That's what that is, though. And I feel that way about anyone that comes into a stream and just says the first word out of their mouth is something negative, right? Because
like dead game, or this game sucks,
or this guy sucks. You know? Yeah, I don't know. Like, comes in and says something like, "Man, you're ugly." You know, they just come into your stream, say something negative, and you never see them again.
Yeah.
that's the same thing as walking inside someone's house and taking a dump in their living room.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that it's an extreme description, but what it
Yeah.
means when you do that, and when you say something about what something someone likes or someone that doesn't like it,
Yeah.
you know, I do not go and shit all over the things that you like. Like, I'm not going to do that. That's not who I am. That's not how I do things. If you like the thing and I don't like the thing and I'm like, okay, well, I don't really get the thing, or it's just not for me. The thing is not for me. I'm going to be like, yes, that's awesome that you like it. It's great that you like it. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong for liking it.
Right.
Just as like I don't want you to tell me that I'm wrong for not liking it.
Yeah.
And if we could do some more of that in our society, think about how much more we could just be like, hey, we're cool people. And like,
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, that
side
it's
note,
okay that you guys don't like it because you guys have so many other shared interests, Like,
yes,
you don't have to feel the same way about everything.
yes. I mean, side note, like, we don't have this happen a ton in the Heroes Hearth community, but it does happen sometimes. It doesn't happen a ton, but it does happen. And
Mm-hmm.
because we are very blessed to have a really cool community. But I mean, the Twitter and YouTube comments and that kind of thing are basically just like open season for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you don't like it, then don't have to look at it, and you don't have to listen to it, and you don't have to be involved in it, and you don't have to follow that person on Twitter.
In fact, you shouldn't, because if you do, you might be encouraged to say something else negative or off-putting in the future. You don't.
Yeah.
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 So
I am so I really just want people to be aware of this, because it did happen to me last week,
yeah,
and
in a
it bothered
situation that
me.
was kind of a professional setting too,
Yeah.
and that's when it's kind of like upsetting, because it's one thing when it's all fun and games, but then you take this kind of prejudice or discrimination into a professional setting, and it feels even worse somehow. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
my boss used to do this with me because I didn't read the Walking Dead comics. I used to watch the show,
Really?
but I didn't read the Walking Dead comics. So he'd say, "Oh, you don't even like the Walking Dead if you're not reading the comics." And I was like, "No, I really like the show. I like the acting. I like the characters." And he's like, "No, you don't care about it." And it used to annoy me because he's coming from a position of power and kind of throwing whatever I say out the window, disregarding, what I'm saying or what I'm passionate about. He's just kind of throwing it away. Doesn't care.
That stuff is bad. And that is especially when you are in a professional setting. Yes, we do wind up getting into those personal conversations with people. At work, it happens to me all the time, but
Yeah.
then it becomes this power thing of just like, what are you supposed to do, Coffee? Are you supposed to now go pick up the Walking Dead comics and read them to justify to your boss that
Yeah.
now you are a true fan doing something that maybe you don't want to do?
And I don't know, because I want my boss to like me, right? It's part of
Right.
my work environment. So I feel pressured to do that because he's coming from a position of power. So it's an uncomfortable situation that he's
Yeah.
putting me in. Yeah.
This happened to me at a job that I had where my boss found out that I was doing the podcasting thing. It was very new at the time, and we traveled to Las Vegas to go to a trade show together. And she met a friend of hers and introduced me to the friend, and we went out to dinner. And after a couple of drinks, they started making fun of me for the podcasting thing. It was like, yeah, Jules does podcasting and she talks about video games. And they were like, like, it was like they were making fun of it. And I was like, wait, what?
Wow.
Like, this is something that I'm very passionate about and very interested in. And it was like, why are you making fun of me about this? I don't. And of course, I'm in that situation where I kind of have to laugh it off because I'm there with
Yeah,
my
you're in a
boss.
professional setting.
So that, it does happen, and we do say things sometimes that can hurt people, and maybe we don't even know about it. And so when it comes to the things that we enjoy, um, I am I mean, as a content creator, like, we get out there and we share our joy and passion about the things that we love. Um, and for like a long time, it has been kind of an embarrassment to try to explain to people
What you do.
that this is, yeah, and that I'm interested in this. And, we've talked about this before on the show. Um, and so if someone doesn't have that passion or excitement about it, they're not super stoked about the thing that you're talking about, or they don't get it. Like, I just back away and I'm like, that's cool. Like, I'm
Yeah.
totally cool with the fact that you don't understand what Twitch is, that you don't
Right.
understand what podcasting is, that you don't understand what Heroes Storm is. That's fine. Like, totally cool.
Yeah.
But then they're like, well, but it's just, you get on there and talk about video games. I was like, why are people mean? Why do they have to be mean about this stuff? I don't make fun of the fact that you crochet in front of the TV. Like, I don't know why this is a thing.
It's like, I don't make fun of your dietary restrictions, and I don't make fun of your health choices, and I don't make fun of like aspects of your life. And I have a similar situation, because I think the people that I work with in my development gig, I don't think some of them have started to follow my Instagram page and follow me on Twitter, and they don't say anything. They just start to follow like Coffee Club TV. And I know that they're seeing this content, but when I'm working with them outside of, when I see them at work or in the office, they don't mention anything to me. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they are, laughing at me, or if they think I'm doing something cool or what. They don't tell me that. So I always wonder what they're thinking.
Yeah. I'm actually wondering right now. I mean, I'm interviewing for a couple of positions where they're basically office type jobs that are not related to anything related to gaming or
Mm-hmm.
to podcasting. It's just a way for me to earn money
When
right
when
now.
they vet you, they'll probably see your content, and it'll subconsciously could be a deciding factor in like if they hire you, I think.
Well, I am actually lucky in this respect
Okay.
because my legal name is different than Jules Scott, and so they would have to know that is also me. I would have to tell them. And that is a debate that I've had a lot of times with these applications that I have done and the interviews that I have done is, and in the one that the job now, the origin of all of this came from a job that I did not get. I did not get this job.
Right.
But at the beginning, we had an interview.
And did you not
the
get
interview.
it because she couldn't believe you watched Lord of the Rings? I mean, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, this is the kind of things we're going to have in the back of our head going forward here, because...
Side note, they told me I was the favorite candidate, but they must have used a personality profile that I had taken, which was this massive test that I had to take.
Those personality profile tests are just there's so many ways to... I just don't agree with them. I really don't.
It was so frustrating because they told me I was the favorite candidate, but they didn't pick me because they felt that the job might be too rigid for me. Based off of, and they didn't say based on the personality profile, but that's the only thing I can think of is like, if you liked me and you thought I was the favorite person, why didn't you pick me? But that's a different story. But I'm actually afraid at this point of when I do get that job where I'm, settling into an office environment and meeting these people, do I tell them about what I do or do I not? And because it's that question mark of, are they going to be accepting? Are they going to be supportive? Are they going to stalk my Twitter and my content? Or do I want to keep them separate?
And then they might even ask you in the interview room, there's really generic interview questions that say, name one thing you're passionate about, or
yes, oh my gosh, I've answered so many of those.
One thing you do in your spare time. And if someone were to ask me that, the first thing I would think of is, this podcast, my Twitch community, this content that we're creating. And I think I'd be hesitant in a professional situation like that. It's such a weird thing to talk about. I don't know how they're going to react. And then they're in a position of power to decide my future based on this thing that they may or may not like. It's a really weird spot to be in.
Yes, and it's like I'm stuck between that place too, and so a lot of times they will ask you, "Tell me something about you outside of work." Like, "Tell me something about you." And I will tell them then, "Hey, I'm a podcaster. I make chainmail jewelry on the side." All of those things, but like I find that it is difficult and like trying to make sure that those lines stay um sacred and not like I don't want to be in a position like I was like 7 years ago when I got made fun of for what I did
Yeah,
on the side.
doesn't feel good.
So, yeah, so it's just when you've lived in the world of wanting to try to fit in with everybody but always feeling like you didn't. Like I worked as in another life, I worked as a furniture salesperson, and formal dress, like that kind of thing. You were sales inside a store,
Hmm.
and I was raiding World of Warcraft during that time frame when I went home at night.
You were going hard in the
And
paint.
I wasn't hard in the
Not only
paint.
were you
And
in
they
the paint, but you were rock hard in the paint.
and I wound up being in this position where somebody found out that I was a WoW player, and it was like their mind got blown. They were
Yep.
just like, holy shit, like that does not compute. Like, how in the world can you be you
This
and
and
not
that.
and a gamer? And like I am at the point, like I've lived that my entire life, and so when I am with my tribe, when I am with the people that I feel comfortable with, um this whacked out chat room right now, um that are saying weird shit, that I want to feel like I am not ever feeling like I have to get gate gated by the things that I like or don't like. And is that's the thing I want to kind of wrap up on my end with this one.
Yeah.
This whacked out chat room, my god.
It's a lot. It's a lot right now.
Basically,
Jesus.
Coffee's eyes have hypnotized the entire chat room. So
This is about my voice. It's not about my eyes. Um
well,
you're
this
absolutely
show
right.
is definitely
It's taking a turn.
taken a turn.
It's taking a turn.
Do you have anything else on this topic? We've had the cat. We've had we've had
A lot.
everything today.
You know what's so funny
And
about
that's why.
cats though is that I had to lock that cat up. My angel, perfect sweetheart cat Angel, as soon as I locked him up, she just walks right up to me and just lays down on the floor and looks up at me like, "Look how good I am. Look how perfect I am." See, you have to lock that bad boy away, but I'm just an angel, and here I am, just watching you do your podcast. I'm a peaceful, angelic, fluffy creature. That's
She's
what
like,
she's
I'm your
saying.
favorite.
Yeah,
I'm your
pretty much.
favorite.
Let's touch
You,
back. Let's circle back around on just
yeah.
one more thing. And there was a big, I think a way I can relate to this whole gatekeeping thing. I have two thoughts. One thought: when I was growing up, I was super into Star Wars. I still am, but I had a friend that was really into Star Trek, and that was okay. We didn't fight about it. We didn't argue about it. I tried to watch Star Trek a couple times. He watched Star Wars. He wasn't in love with Star Wars. I wasn't in love with Star Trek, but we were still the best of friends. Like we were literally best friends. And I always think back to that, and I think that's such a good way to compromise, because even though we didn't share that one super passionate point in our lives, we had a lot of other shared interests, and that was a special thing between us. Number two, and actually this relates to Workhorse. Workhorse really likes Star Trek, and
Yeah.
when we first started talking, he 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 wanted me to do some Star Trek things because we were part of the new generation of HeroesHearth.
Yes, and that, you were like, I don't
And
know if I want to go this
I was
route.
just like, I like Star Trek. It's cool. It's just not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was Darth Coffee on the new generation, which was kind of funny. But I do like Star Trek, and I actually really do like the new Star Trek movies quite a bit. So
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, Guys, if we're talking about eyes, can we just talk about Chris Pine for a moment?
Oh
Jiminy
my God.
crickets. Jeez
Yeah.
Louise.
Yeah,
Whew.
hello. Those eyes
Hello.
are...
Yeah.
I could watch that Wonder Woman movie all day long.
So good. And
I
there,
know.
and Chris Pine, and damn it, what's her actress? What's the actress name again?
Gal Gadot?
Gal Gadot. They have such
Yeah.
good chemistry, and they're just repartee, like they're just back and forth. Like it's quirky, it's quick. You know, they're just like, I don't know. I love that movie, and Chris Pine is great in it. He's got incredible eyes. So those should be the standard of eyes. I think you guys need to raise your standards a little bit. My
Oh,
last
the
thought
chat
here.
room is so distracted by Coffee's eyes today.
My last thought here is that there is a nerd gatekeeping culture, I think, embedded in all ranked or competitive video games, and that's
Gosh, yeah.
because someone who's higher ranked is clearly too good at the game to play with someone that's lower ranked than them. I see this all the time. Even with streamers, they don't want to do ranked games with people of lower rank because they think that those people will bring their rank down or like lower the quality of the content and things like that. And that's gatekeeping. That's kind of what we're talking about right now. Someone who's super good at League of Legends is not going to play with somebody who's not, or they're going to make fun of them when they're playing. Like, that's the same idea. So there's just so many different areas of life where this is relevant, and I think we need to be more aware of it. I really do.
I definitely know and understand the ranked thing because, like, there's a motivation behind wanting to play at a certain level, or that's where your enjoyment of the game comes in. And so I kind of understand that, honestly. I do, when because I have been in positions where I've wanted to play more competitively and I was continually playing with people who weren't as skilled, and it would get frustrating to me. And I'm not just talking about Heroes of the Storm. I'm talking about like World of Warcraft and things like that, like raid teams and things like of that nature. So personally, I have chosen to not play with people who are maybe at a lower skill level that I was, or I felt bad when I was the one who was of the lower skill level playing with someone who was more. And so, but it was about communication to say, hey, I want to raid at a higher level, and therefore I'm going to be on this team and not on this team. And I've had to make those decisions before. Never made fun of people about it. Like that's a whole different ball game.
Different ball game. Yeah. But there's and to your point, there's a practicality of those decisions of not wanting to play with people of different ranks. But if you're a person of a specific rank and you want to learn the game better, the best way to do it is to watch and or play with people of higher rank. And for someone to tell you, no, you're not good enough to play with us right now, that's a gatekeeping of some sort. It's similar to, Jules, you don't watch Lord of the Rings and you're not a nerd. You can't be. Be.
I'm being kicked off the stream as we speak.
Yeah.
Because I have not seen fully
the
Lord
nerd
of the Rings.
card
I have
has
seen
been
partial.
revoked. Yep. We're taking
Feels
the hobbits
bad,
to
man.
Isengard. It's
feels bad, man. I tell you what.
My precious. Have you read the books?
No.
Okay.
No. And it's so okay. I will tell the story real quick about why this is. At the time that they came out, I was married at the time, and my parents were visiting, and it was the very first Lord of the Rings movie, and we took them to go see it, and my parents were so uninterested in seeing this, they walked out of the theater and waited in the lobby. I'm not kidding. They left because they were so uninterested in this movie, and it was a horrible experience for me because I was super excited to maybe see it. I didn't know anything about it. I hadn't read the books or anything like that. But we're going back, a fair ways now. I don't know when the first movie came out, but it was probably in the early 2000s, right?
Yeah. Early 2000s.
And I never saw another one after that point because it was such a really bad experience where it was just like I felt really bad. I felt bad that we had taken into this, that they didn't want to go see it, and they should have said that they didn't want to see it. And I don't remember a thing about the movie because I was so distracted by the whole thing about feeling bad.
Yeah.
And so it was a bad experience, and then I just never saw the rest of them because there was like no reason to.
You had a negative experience watching the first one. It doesn't make you want to watch another one. So
yeah, so I just was like, well, okay, and it just, because it didn't have any interest for me in the beginning, and then that experience just kind of took it, and I wasn't surrounded by people at the time who were very much into it. It just fell through the cracks.
In your defense, the Fellowship of the Ring is, don't hate me, anybody, but I don't think it's that good. And I love Lord of the Rings, so sorry everyone, but yeah, I'm not like a huge fan of the Fellowship of the Ring.
I couldn't tell you what it was. I couldn't tell you anything about it. I couldn't tell you anything because I don't remember anything.
At the time, nothing about it resonated with you, and you were so distracted with this other situation that was going on that you were just didn't even leave an impression on you at all.
Yeah, it was so long ago that it was like I just moved on to other things. It wasn't an interest for me, and that was it. So, and I just never latched onto it. I didn't find the love for it, so therefore I didn't invest any more time into it.
Right.
And I did a podcast a long time ago, probably 5 years ago now. It was a show called I Remembered It Better, and it was with my friends Cliff and Ryan. And what the show was about was nostalgia about the things that from our childhood that we were revisiting, and whether or not we remembered it better than it really was, or
Oh, that's
and
good.
one of the
that's really
yeah,
good.
it was a cool concept. The show never really kept going because of their busy schedules. But one of the things that we did is they found out that there was a lot of movies in the 90s that I never saw. And so what we would do is we would do segments where I would watch a movie that I hadn't seen, and they were like, how could you have not seen this? Like the whole nerd card thing, right? And so one of the movies that I watched was True Lies, that I had never seen it before.
Wait, True Lies?
Now, the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis, where he's a spy, and then it turns out that she kind of turns into a spy too.
Jamie, get to the chopper! I'm a spy!
Yep.
Right, that one.
And I people were like, how could you have never seen True Lies? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, fine. I will watch this. And I watched the movie, as a like late 30-something person. And I was like, okay, it's all right, I guess. And they were like, freaking out. How could you just think it was just all right? It's a classic. It's amazing. It's blah, blah, blah.
This is a nerd card being revoked. This is perfect.
It was.
This is exactly what's
so
happening.
It wasn't my favorite segment of the show, let me tell you, because I had to basically kind of just say, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Imagine they're getting so upset over True Lies. Imagine if you replaced True Lies with Star Wars. How upset would those two guys be?
Oh, they were so into Star Wars. But
right?
I was too, which is fine. But they were so into Star Wars that if I had never seen it, it would have been.
They're so upset over True Lies. It's just kind of, I've seen that movie, forgot it entirely.
Yeah,
right?
You didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, I've seen it, don't remember a lick of it. So, I don't know.
But it was something that was very much a passion of theirs. I thought it was a great movie. How could I have not seen it? Let's remedy this. I did it. And then I wasn't as passionate about it and didn't understand it as the way they did.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, they didn't like that. It wasn't cool. And yeah. And so
and you felt bad. That made you feel bad probably.
Yeah, because I felt like it was like defending your life. You're like, I don't like it because I don't like it. And it's okay if I don't like it, right? And yeah, that's the thing that I want to stop. I want to stop that. I want to make it okay that if I don't like it, we're still okay because I'm still a good person. You're still a good person. And we go in our more time for me to watch anime or whatever it is that you don't like.
Right.
you know?
Yeah, so
And
so regarding anime, you don't watch anime either, right?
no,
Do
no.
you know what specifically it is about anime that kind of pushes you away?
It's the same thing as you.
Same thing.
I used to I, I don't want to say it because I think it's racist. I just
Oh
I
dear.
mean no, it was like the flappy mouth thing. It just felt like it was a flappy mouth. Like
You're
I
racist
don't.
against cartoons.
Is that racist? I don't know. Is that racist? It just felt like the animation was flappy mouths, and I didn't like it because there was nothing. There was no
Yeah.
expression to it. It was just because most anime was that we would watch in English language was overdubbed, and so um
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. I see what you're
yeah,
saying
so it
now.
looked like the
Okay.
mouth was blinking, and
Yes,
so it
yes,
was
yes,
just like
yes.
there's nothing that I connect to with that, which is I think what you were saying.
That's
Like,
part of what I'm saying, and then the other thing of what I'm saying is when the main character is speaking, right, and there's background characters in a film, I'm also looking at those background characters and how they're reacting to what this main character is saying. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I don't want to look back there and see them like,
Solid face, no movement.
yeah,
Yes.
that takes me out of it somehow. Like that for some reason that takes me out of the story.
Yeah. And so like when I
Yeah.
was growing up, Speed Racer was a big thing of what people were totally into, and I
Mhm.
could not get it because I felt like it was a better way to phrase it is blinky mouth. Like it just looked like the words were coming out of a mouth that was
Yeah.
blinking to indicate that something was being said, like a robot. And it didn't connect with me at all. I didn't feel it. I didn't get it. It didn't feel like, I was a kid who watched Tom and Jerry and Roadrunner and Bugs Bunny and Mighty
Yeah.
Mouse, and so those were the cartoons that I watched.
Do you
Those
watch any
were
cartoons now these days? Are there any on now that you
um
watch at all?
no, I don't think so. I don't think I
I don't
watch any
either.
cartoons
I
now.
don't either, and maybe that's part of it. Is just I don't. People always tell me you need to watch Archer, and
Yeah.
my wife likes Bob's Burgers and stuff like that. But I'm just not super into cartoons.
I guess I would say neither am I. Like I've watched South Park and it was okay. But yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
South Park exactly. That's a perfect example. Someone was like, "You don't like South Park?"
you reminded me that when I talked about World of Warcraft in this interview, they asked me if I had seen the South Park episode.
Oh my god.
Like that's the thing. And just okay, we're going on a tangent. We're going to go on this tangent.
Oh my gosh.
I've talked about this in the past. Anybody who finds out that you're a nerd, do you like Big Bang Theory?
Ugh.
Yeah, see, you're rolling your eyes, and this is the thing. This is the thing about it. Because everybody, like, I have had so many of my
Man.
parents' friends who have said to me, "Oh, you must like Big Bang Theory." I'm like, "I've never seen it." They're like, "What? You love it? You're a nerd?" They're talking about nerd stuff, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get your logic here.
I think it's
I'm
people
supposed to like this?
compartmentalize things in their life, right? And then it's easier for them to continue on with their day and not get too confused by just associating, oh, nerd, Big Bang Theory, or something like that. They just like
Yeah.
if something is anything related to nerd is automatically Big Bang Theory, and that's just the compartment where that lives, and they're right in their little brain,
Yeah.
right there. It's in
Yeah.
that little hole right there. That's where they file that away. Big Bang Theory and nerddom goes in that same little compartment. That's how it
And
works.
I'll very kindly say, no, it's not really a show. How could you not watch it? I mean, it's nerdy stuff. Well,
Yeah,
it's
you'd
not
love it.
that
It's all
interesting.
about nerds.
Okay.
Okay, cool story.
Thanks for telling me what I should like.
That's
I
like
appreciate it.
some people ask me, or like what do you work with computers, right? What do you do? And I'll say something like, oh, I'm a coder, I'm a developer, and they go, oh, do you watch Silicon Valley? Or have you seen Mr. Robot or something like that, right? They just like jump to like
I like Mr. Robot, but
I love Mr. Robot, but I do, but what I do has nothing to do with Mr. Robot, right? But like
Right.
code and Mr. Robot, it's just it's a compartment, and then people compartmentalize things. I think like that.
Yeah. I think they try to find ways to try to relate you to that thing that they think is supposed to be the representation of you. And so I don't know. I just, it's a generalization. It's a compartmentalization, like you said. People do this to us all the time. We need to, as nerds, we need to be kinder to each other about the things that we enjoy, in my opinion, because we do have to justify our existence. And, even though it's gotten a lot better and a lot more interesting, like my parents don't have any interest in any Marvel movie when the Avengers Infinity War came out.
Oh, yeah. My dad. No. But
I was going to visit my parents that weekend, and I realized that I had made those plans before checking to see when the movie was coming out. And I mean, my dad was great about it. I was like, guys, if I could just figure out a time to go see this when we're not doing anything else, that would be fabulous. Because I know you don't want to see it. And they were like, no, we don't want to. But I went to the movies by myself. I saw it, and I'm like, okay, avoid all spoilers. We're good. And
that's okay too.
Yeah.
That's what's so great about it. There's no pressure. Yeah, there's no pressure.
They get it now. But before it was like, how could you go see that silly superhero movie? Like, why is it so important to you? It's like, because of the internet's going to spoil it, and I want to see it before it gets spoiled. This is important.
Yeah.
I actually talked about this in the interview too. Like, okay, here's a Star Wars story for you.
Oh, I love
God, this show is going to be long.
I love Star Wars stories.
This could be all right. Let's just do the tell me a story thing, and this is my final story of the day.
Okay.
We're gonna make
all
this
right.
story of the day. So, The Last Jedi, last year. Okay.
Am I gonna like this story, or am I not gonna like?
No, you're gonna hate the story.
Okay, let me brace myself here.
So my former boss, who lived here in town, had gotten tickets to go see The Final Jedi as part of a special, it's a special screening from his bank. They were like, hey, we're buying out this theater. You can go see it for free. And he's like, hey, you want to come? I'm like, yes. Awesome. So we get to the theater, and it's one of those really old theaters that were made in the 30s, where
cool.
you walk. Well, when you walk in the lobby, it's all carpeted, but then the theater is it's like a stage theater style, where it's like you get into the lobby and then there's the theater. That's it. And they didn't have a lot of room for people to hang out and wait to get into the theater. It was packed lobby.
Oh yeah.
People were on top of each other, whatever. And the theater was not prepared for this many people. And apparently they had free concessions that they put at the front of the theater in the stage that you had to. Yes, so free candy and popcorn and drinks. But you had to go to the front of the theater to go get it and line up. Now, this thing is sold out. It's full. And there are people lining the aisles, both sides, waiting in line to get to these concessions.
Wow.
Coffee, the movie just starts. There's people in the aisles. There's kids running up and down the aisles. There's people talking. Nobody's in their seats.
Oh my God.
The movie
lose my mind.
Starts. And I am like, this cannot be. This is not. This cannot be my experience.
Viewing experience. No.
Yes. You cannot have distracted noise and people trying to figure out where they're going and trying to crunch and popcorn everywhere. It was so loud.
You're over here trying to be one with the Force, and there's little gremlins running around screaming and throwing popcorn?
Yeah. For the first 10 minutes of the movie. The first 10 minutes was that chaos. And the crinkling of the bags.
No.
And I was so angry. I was like, I can't believe that this is how I am experiencing The Last Jedi. And so
God, that just
it was, yeah. For me, that was I explained this in this interview. I was like, this is a religious experience for me. It is a special.
No wonder you didn't like the movie.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and I liked it. Okay,
I don't know if you liked it or not. I liked it.
I liked it fine, but it was like, but that experience of seeing that movie was forever ruined.
Yeah.
For the first time, and it's really kind of sad.
It's
and
a
so
shame.
never again will I do anything like that. Never again.
That's a shame.
No, I will never. And honestly, I wanted to make sure that I saw it before it was spoiled, but even then I'm like, oh my god. Like so anyway, that's my weirdo story for the rest of this to close it out.
All right.
Where this show is whack, so we're gonna just keep going and like tell me a story. Tell me a good story. Tell me something.
Let me tell you a story.
I
don't know. I think we have some theater people in here, maybe. But last night, I had two options. I could either watch the SAG Awards or I could watch Rent live on Fox. And I chose Rent live on Fox because that was such a impactful show to me when I was growing up. I loved Rent. Something about the musical Rent sparked a fire in me, made me want to perform, and I had no idea it was going to be so impactful, but it was, and it was so cool to watch it on national television last night.
Yeah.
National television. It's so crazy because in 1996, when Jonathan Larson was working on this musical, he was struggling just to get it in a theater, right? He was, and here it is, his story, his legacy being broadcast to millions of people.
Yeah.
Maybe billions. It's so wild to think about. But that was my night last night, and it was pretty magical. There were really, really talented performers, like some voices that just shook you because they were so strong and powerful, and the original cast at the end comes out and they sing with the original cast. I've seen Rent live 5 or so times, and I saw the original cast, and it was so cool to see those performers come out and sing with these new and very talented actors and singers, and it was just awesome. It was so awesome. I'm sitting here in my living room. Emma got so sleepy she went to bed, but I'm sitting here in my living room just like crying and weeping watching this, and just it was special. It was very special. And then
that
of course,
is so cool.
And then of course afterwards, I performed in Rent 8 years ago when I was in college, and these people that I went to college with are posting things on social media and Instagram, and we're all looking at these pictures together of when we did the musical, and I just took a trip right down memory lane, looking at these pictures and remembering the songs, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool, and it doesn't feel like 8 years ago. So I think
I've had the music in my head all day.
Okay, good. It's not just
just
me.
And I didn't even see it. I need to see it because I don't have cable, so I'm hoping it's on Hulu.
I hope so too. I hope
but Fox had had some tweets out there where they had snippets of it, and I watched those, and then it was just like it's in my head all day.
Yeah,
and that's okay. So
something that was pretty crazy, and this is a slightly off topic, but this is why live theater is so magical, and this is why something like this doesn't happen in film or television, is that the main the actor playing Roger actually broke his foot in a dress rehearsal the night before. So
oh my goodness,
almost all of what was shown on TV last night was not live because Roger's foot was broken. The only thing that was live last night was the last song where the original cast came out, and where they sung they sang Seasons of Love, and Roger had to sit on a table with his poor broken foot. But it's just like that's what happens when television and film production is having to deal with just the constraints of live theater, because that shit happens. You know, they didn't have an understudy. They didn't have an understudy. It's like that just, who's Chris Pine's understudy in Wonder Woman? He doesn't have
Nobody.
one. Doesn't exist.
I know.
So it's just kind of cool to see the complications of when these two art forms are getting married, and seeing the challenges that presents too. Even though it is so magical. I mean, it was so magical. I encourage anyone to go watch that Rent live production. I don't know if you have it on DVR. I hope it goes on Hulu or something digital like that. But
Yeah,
it was
I have to check.
tremendous.
It should be on Hulu. It better be on Hulu because I want to see it.
Oh,
So
it was
otherwise,
so good.
Otherwise, I'm just gonna go and pull it up on Netflix and watch the movie. So
Let me just say,
I've seen the movie.
The set itself was just groundbreaking. The set was insanely good. I've never considered just what do I mean, it was in a studio. It was on the Fox lot. So it's in one of these massive sound stages, and the audience was also in the sound stage, and they threw the audience kind of in the set. So as these actors are running around the set and moving through, doors and buildings and different stages, they're walking through audience members, and you kind of got the sense that you're walking around a New York City block. It was just crazy cool. So cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an intense and awesome episode of the Jules and Coffee Hour. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really did too. I mean, we were everywhere. We had to deal.
I was gonna say I had a good time. We went off track a little bit. We reeled it back in, but it was a well-rounded conversation for sure.
I agree. I do not have a topic for next week, so we're gonna come up with that and let you guys know. My brain has been real scattered because of just everything is up in the air, which includes the record time. Mm-hmm. If we continue on as this week, we will record at 4:00 after rank win. If I get a job and start working, I will not be able to do that. So we'll figure it out. I'm looking forward to having a little bit more regular schedule again. That'd be nice. It'd be really nice, but we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. So Coffee. With that, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Jules and Coffee Hour. We hope you've enjoyed your time by the fire. And those of us in the cold climates, please stay warm by that fire because we need you to. And we're gonna depart with this lovely music and read the wonderful things that you need to know before we get out of here.
Let's do it. Want to contact the show? You can email us at podcast@heroeshearth.com. And if you want to connect with us on Twitter, you can find me at coffeeclub_TV. You can find Jules at JulesRPG. You can also use those handles to follow our personal streams on Twitch and get notified when we go live.
You can join us for the live broadcasts at twitch.tv/HeroesHearth at Mondays, 4 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Pacific, or find us in podcast form on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Pocket Casts, TuneIn, and more.
If you like this show and would like to support the great entertainment brought to you by HeroesHearth, please consider supporting them on Patreon at patreon.com/HeroesHearth.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today, chat room. We love you. You're crazy and insane. You've made Coffee blush at least 4 times today,
Minimum.
And we appreciate you.
Minimum 4 times.
And until next time, we're glad you're here.